tried to get the air to push the car down. This year he's trying to slice through it. Look at that, it's all sheet metal inside that automobile. You can barely see him sticking out of all that material.
That's the number 9 car, Mccre, the white, yellow roofed machine as he tried to drift underneath. Ken Johnson in the corner, nothing there. McLaughlin in third, and here's a look at Brett Hearn. Hearn is trying to steam his way back up through the field. He was last reported at about 9th position. He has climbed 2 spots since then, and now runs right on the back bumper of Wiley Will Cagle.
Look at that. Isn't that something? That car devastated everybody here back in 1980. It has not really done anything in Syracuse since, although they've brought it back on several occasions.
Cagle has finished second here and third twice and fourth once. He has run 12 of the 14 annual races here to date, and this could be his final one.
And wouldn't it be something if he won this race? This is about the only big dirt track race in the whole world that Will Cagle has not won.
Cagle in the Ferriulo 73 is the 7th place car. Brett Hearn currently posted in 8th. And a moment ago we saw Billy Pouch's number 5 trying to climb back up through traffic after late pit stop. Challenge for the lead. Mccre on the inside. He may get it going into turn number 1 as Johnson has to give way. And Mccre goes to the front of the pack, a place he enjoyed more laps than anyone else last year.
Yeah, if it had not been for that pit stop, he may well have won it. Look at him open that lead. Mccre absolutely flying. He says that he can only use about 80% of the horsepower that car has got. Ron Hunter built him one of the most powerful dirt track engines ever constructed just for this race. He said, if I could only get a little more of it down on the ground, I could fly. Well, he's done it. He's flying.
He's got one of the Hunter house motors today, and Ron Hunter, Gene DeWitt, patron of the late Richie Evans and now of Jack Johnson on dirt, a longtime Hunter supporter, helped bring him to prominence, and there are Hunter power plants under many of the top cars in this field, including right now the leader. Here's second through fourth as Ken Johnson struggles to hold the second spot against the onslaught of Mike McLaughlin. And right with McLaughlin, that looks like Danny Johnson's car. Second, third, and fourth in doubt. That is Danny Johnson riding in fourth. Moving up to Mike McLaughlin. McLaughlin, you saw him hit a crater there going into the corner. The right front really dropped.
You can see the light spots on the racetrack that puff dust. Those are holes beginning to develop in the racetrack where the surface has worn away from the pounding of the race car's tires.
Trouble in turn 2. 2 cars, and one goes end over end. And oh, that's Hoffman. Doug Hoffman, one of the pre-race favorites who ran so well here, ends up on his roof at turn 2 in a violent crash.
What a ride he took.
Climbing out of the second car involved is Harvey Haynier. Car number 11J, the front of that car demolished, and immediately he ran to the aid of Hoffman, with other cars still going past and the safety personnel not yet able to cross the track. We'll take another look at it here. And already Hoffman.
Oh, there goes Hoffman. Yeah, he's doing a side roll already. He's already been over. The car is well bent at this point. Hoffman now coming back up onto the side of the car. He apparently caught Mike Romano's wheel. These cars are open wheel, and boy, when you catch a wheel, it just tosses the car around. He went end over end at least 3 times before you saw what's happened here. The car is really bent. Hoffman in a bad crash in the second turn at Syracuse.
6th caution flag of the day. Most of the leaders have made their pit stops. Ken Johnson has not. He held the lead until Bob Mccre blasted past and took off on the back straightaway. We'll also look for Mike McLaughlin perhaps to pit this round. Danny Johnson as well has not been to the pit lane. C.D. Colville is posted as the 5th place car right now. He has made a pit stop already, and he'll make another one. Here is McLaughlin on the pit lane as we watch Bob Mccre come past under caution.
Ken Johnson is also on pit road, Mike. This will mean now just about everybody has made their pit stop. Here's Ken Johnson doing his pit stop. This will be the same stop essentially that everybody has done. Everybody has had the same strategy here in terms of what to do when they get to pit road. They are all changing the 2 rear tires. Those are the bite tires. Those are the tires that make the car go forward. A lot of racing, you'll see they'll change the front tires as well. Not so here. There's not much pressure on them. The engines are way in the back in these cars for adhesion and for bite. So it's the rear tires that are critical here, and that's what they're changing, and filling the tank with fuel as well.
Well, in NASCAR racing, usually they'll change left or right side tires on the big, heavy Winston Cup cars. But Harry Hyde, crew chief for Tim Richmond this year, perhaps took a page from dirt track racing, and on several occasions he has changed the rear tires of the car rather than adjusting the stagger right to left.
The size of those rear tires is really critical for getting the car around the corner. The effect is that they've got a solid axle between the two rear tires, and the left rear is always a little bit smaller than the right. And if you get the ratio between the left rear and the right rear exactly correct, that's the fastest way around the racetrack. But getting it exactly correct is a tall order. When you change both of those tires at the same time and start with two new ones, well, that just sort of increases the odds that you're going to do it right. New tires do tend to change size when they are first put on the car.
Mike McLaughlin has made his pit stop, so has Kenny Johnson. And as happened to Bob Mccre last year, I would think it would be extremely difficult for anybody to make a pit stop this late in the race and work their way back up through the pack to win. Here we're looking at Doug Hoffman's car as the wrecker picks it up by the roll cage.
That was a brand new car at the start of the race. This had never run on a speedway before.
And may never again.
Well, it's amazing what they can do to these cars, Mike. They're mostly of tubular construction, and as you can see, despite the fact that he went end over end and side over side and went down the wall with it, the basic structural integrity of the car remains. Now, those things get bent for sure, but they can do an awful lot with an automobile as destroyed as that. They'll strip it down to the bare frame, put it on a frame machine, cut out some of the bent and broken parts, straighten the rest of them, and put it all back together again.
Here's another look at how it came to be that way as they lift the bumper away and put it in the truck. The car has already been over at least once, slides along on the right side, and comes to rest. Excuse me, it's already been over at least 3 times before it settles down on its roof.
Left front wheel is gone already as well.
We're set to go back to green. Mccre is the man with the lead as they come off turn number 4 and race toward the start-finish line. Bob Mccre, who made his pit stop very early in this event, perhaps even too early, in a complete reversal of his 1985 strategy that saw him lead the most laps but finish 3rd.
Look what a nice job he does going through the corners to miss the bumps, Mike. He was inside one set and then he went right over the top of another set, so he never put a wheel in one of the bumps. And that is part of being able to go fast on a dirt track. You cannot run any place you might like. You have got to stay out of the bumps.
Battle back. There is Tommy Corellis trying to hold off a charge, and Corellis, who started 10th, running well. He's the 4th place car. He's defending that position against pole sitter Billy Pouch and Brett Hearn, who is 6th. Corellis in 57, right up against the back bumper of Jack Johnson. Brett Hearn is there as well with Pouch.
These cars do not have rear view mirrors, so he can't see Pouch back there. He doesn't exactly know where Pouch is unless he can hear the motor a little bit. But for sure he knows that he's got some company on the back bumper.
And interesting, these cars run mufflers. It's a very sophisticated muffler system that takes the edge off the sound without costing these cars a lot of horsepower. But unlike many forms of auto racing that run unmuffled, it may be a little harder here to hear somebody as they come up behind you.
Well, it's a good neighbor muffler, actually. When you get really close to the cars, they sound almost as loud as they would without the mufflers. But a half a mile away where there might be houses, the mufflers really work, and it really dulls the sound of the engines.
There is Pouch working over Corellis, Hearn looking on. Battle for 4th position here. Inside goes Pouch, and he takes the lane away from Corellis.
Corellis just slipped for a very brief moment, and you cannot do that when Pouch is behind you.
Corellis just jumped right back in line, and he finds Brett Hearn alongside. In the battle for 5th spot, Pouch has 4th. Corellis trying to hold off Hearn for 5th. Hearn tries to shove his way, needle his way to the inside. Can't do it there. Back straightaway. Hearn again goes to the inside. Corellis tries to come down and slam the door on him going into turn 3, and he does so for the moment.
Good battle going on back here. This is really fun racing. And you better believe the drivers enjoy this kind of thing. It is just no fun to be out there all by yourself. They love this kind of stuff.
There is Billy Pouch. He is now the 4th place car. Here's your leader, Bob Mccre. Mccre well out in front in the back straightaway. Heading into turn number 3. Mccre coming off 4, back to the front straightaway once again. We're halfway in the Miller American 200. Bob Mccre trying to drive toward victory lane. running in second, Danny Johnson. Johnson 2.7 seconds behind the race leader. There's a look at Johnson as he heads out of turn number 2 into the back straightaway. Danny, there's a car that if it had a little more sponsorship, a lot of people think he could do great things. He certainly seems to have the driving talent.
He's a great driver. He generally has tended to race under the shadow of his brother, Alan Johnson, but he's a wonderful competitor. He just has not had the capital behind him that's been necessary to go first class. And when you see the chrome on so many of these cars, Johnson's car just doesn't have it. In place of chrome, he's got rust.
Yeah, but ask fellows like Lenny Bowler, the late Richie Evans. It don't go faster with chrome. Here's the third place battle. Jack Johnson and Pouch is coming back up through the field. He is fourth, and he's right on the back bumper of the third place car.
Running well, too. Look at this. He's closing on him, Mike.
Well, Hutter power, or rather Jack Tant power now for Jack Johnson as Billy Pouch comes along up and underneath. Now looking to the outside. Now drifting back in the draft of Johnson. And the roofs on these cars, angled as they are, must create quite a vacuum behind them.
They really do. You can't actually slingshot past another car by using that vacuum as you can on a super speedway, but it does create some turbulence for the cars behind them. Incidentally, the roof is the only part of the body of these cars that are manufactured. The rest of it is all hand done by the teams themselves in their own shops.
These cars used to be modified versions of street compact cars, and before that the coupe-bodied automobiles. Then they went to Ford Falcons and Chevy Corvairs and other small bodies, and then to the Pintos, Vegas, and Gremlins. But the AMC Gremlin roof, that is the only shape of a passenger automobile that remains on these cars today. Looking back up front, here is Mccre. And boy, has he stepped out a lead, trying to maintain it though over the distance. Everybody will be counting and just listening to the sound of that exhaust to see if it burps in the closing stages from perhaps having made that stop too early. He's increasing his advantage, though, 3.8 seconds. Mccre now leads Danny Johnson.
Lap after lap, he manages to avoid those holes. It's just ever so pretty to watch him going through the corners, staying clear of any kind of anything that would upset the balance of the car.
Here's a look at the 7th place car, Tommy Wilson. Again, trying to come up. He made a pit stop right about in the middle of when all the leaders went to the pit lane. So he's running comfortably in the 7th spot. Here's Alan Johnson, though, who is closed from 8th position. Johnson's made up about 10 car lengths in the last lap or two, and shortly that battle will be on for 7th spot. Alan Johnson has had some success here at Syracuse, the 1983 winner of this event, but the track turned on him. Last year he finished dead last. There's Mccre. He's about 3.8 seconds ahead now.
See the nose of that car, Mike, how it almost comes into a V kind of shape. That's a little bit different than everybody else has.
There's Billy Pouch, and Pouch has now climbed the ladder up to 3rd, displacing Jack Johnson, the orange car behind him. Johnson rides in 4th. Another look at Pouch. 3rd place machine. He was the pole sitter and led up until his pit stop. You saw him bounce through the craters there coming off turn 2. And he'll begin to put the heat on Danny Johnson here in a moment.
His crew races for a hobby. Their real goal for the year, this with a CPA on the team, is to break even if they possibly can. This kind of racing is very expensive. They figured they spent about $10,000 to come here just to run this one event.
For one race.
One race alone.
Billy Pouch bounces through the corner, tries to avoid the chuck hole at the turn. Mccre putting a lap on one of the slower cars, coming around and toward the front straightaway once again. He pitted on lap 30. This was a 125 lap race, and there's the nose of Mccready's car Dick spoke of with the offset radiator intake.
Last year he had a very different kind of nose, and an awful lot of people brought cars to Syracuse this year that copied that. So Mccre decided, well, he couldn't keep doing the same thing he had done before, and he completely changed the style of the nose this year, and it is not as effective as what he came with in 1985.
But Mccre now leads by 5 seconds over Danny Johnson, who'll be trying to hold off pole sitter Billy Pouch. Back in 4th, Jack Johnson, and in 5th, Tommy Corellis. And Corellis his home track, Lebanon Valley, New York. The promoter there has posted a $5,000 bonus if one of his regular drivers can win here at Syracuse.
Well,
Let's go to Jerry Garrett on pit road.
Well, Mike, we're still playing the guessing game down here along with everybody else as whether Mccre stopped too early. His crew tells us that the fuel mileage they calculated the early going indicates that they're okay, especially with the number of yellow flags that they've got. They're running laps at about 32.5 seconds, and they're picking up anywhere from a half second to a full second a lap on Billy Pouch. Now, we talked to Brett Hurd's crew, and they say there's no way that they get that kind of gas mileage out of McCready's car. They believe that McCready's going to run out of gas before this is over if he doesn't stop.
They believe and they hope. But here is McCready. And I'm not surprised that he changed his strategy from last year, but I am surprised that he completely reversed it.
Well, before the race, he said he had to stop at about lap 30. He couldn't stop before lap 30, but they're really guessing as to what the fuel economy is going to be. They don't know. They don't get enough opportunity on this racetrack to really thoroughly meter the amount of fuel these cars are going to consume. They don't know what the traffic's going to be like. They don't know how many yellow flags they're going to get. So it is very much a guessing game as to how the fuel is going to work.
Here's the second place battle. And this features Danny Johnson in that 27 machine up against the pole sitter Billy Pouch. Now Pouch stopped fairly early along the running order and has had to battle his way back up through. And now challenging for the second spot. Will Cagle has taken his car behind the wall. And the veteran and one of the top stars in the history of dirt track racing will not complete the event here at Syracuse apparently. Jerry Garrett will have a word with Cagle in a moment as we watch second place Danny Johnson trying to hold off Billy Pouch. Pouch pitted on lap 43, so he's had to come up through the field and taken a longer time to do it.
He's secure on fuel, Mike. That's plenty late enough. He should have no problem whatsoever on fuel. Good fight for position right here, going through the second corner. You see the cars jump a little bit. There is a bump there going into the second turn, and that's what the